Hi, everyone. Please, we'll be starting very soon, so kindly exercise patience. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Kindly show by clapping or raising your hand if you can hear me. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So you are welcome to the maiden edition of the Study Abroad Conference that is being organized by Best Grade Services. And today we are very much privileged to have some of the best minds in the game to walk us through the entire process involved in deciding to study abroad. First of all, I must commend Best Grade Services for putting up this very educative piece. If you didn't know, Best Grade Services has over the years been providing educational services such as extra tuition and academic consulting, among others, to various Sorry for that. With that said, I would like to invite the brain behind Best Grade Services and the brain behind this entire Mr. Jonathan McMills, to give us his opening remarks and expectations at the end of the conference. Mr. Jonathan, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Right, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Sorry, I'm having some feedback. Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome to the Maiden Study Abroad Conference organized by Best Grade Services. We are here today understanding how crucial education is to both our personal and then our development, and also Best Grade Services from Madam Loy's introduction has made us understand that we are into education consulting and then providing tuition to university students. And over the years, we have come to understand that it is very necessary to provide students with all the necessary information when it comes to school abroad. So today's program is the maiden edition of a series of academic conferences that the company intends to organize for students. And our speakers for the day are African students who are pursuing various postgraduate studies at some of the leading universities in the world, like the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, USA. We also have Oxford, Kent University, the University of Ghana, and the University of Michigan. Each of these speakers have enormous experience in schools and scholarship applications, as they are all pursuing their PhD programs and are successfully being funded by some of the most prestigious scholarships and in the world, like the Rhodes Foundation Scholarship, the Gates Scholarship by Bill and Melinda Gates, and graduate assistantships, among others. So I will encourage each and everyone to listen keenly and to write a thing or two down in order to maximize the benefits of your time here. I assure you all that this promises to be a life-changing event, and may God bless you all for attending. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jonathan, for that very awesome speech. So just like Mr. McMill said, this maiden study abroad conference is to equip students with the right kind of knowledge in order to help succeed in their applications to schools outside the shores of Ghana. So before I invite our guests today to give us their expectations at the end of this conference, before I invite our guests today to give us their expectations at the end of this conference, just like a 30-second speech, I would read out their profiles for us to know a little bit about them. People are complaining they can't hear. Please rejoin and let's see if that problem is solved. Okay, so the first person on the list, our first guest for today is Miss Emmanuel Afaribia Darko. Emmanuel Afaribia is currently a PhD candidate in statistics at University of Oxford and a Rhodes Scholar. Her research is focused on the modeling of spread of infectious diseases and impacts of control interventions. She studied mathematics and statistics at the University of Ghana, where she also worked as a teaching assistant. Emmanuel is also a co-founder of the CISO Eco Group, an organization focused on promoting environmental sustainability through proper waste management. Aside the environment and statistics, she is also passionate about empowering young people to live purposeful lives. We are very grateful for your presence here, Ms. Emmanuel. If you can hear us, kindly wave your hand.
Yes, I can hear you, and I'm here.
Oh,
it's wonderful
okay.
to be here.
Thank you very much. The next person or our next guest for today is Mr. Benjamin Osafo Ejare. Benjamin Osafo Ejare is a first-year PhD student in the statistics program at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. He obtained his MS degree in statistics and data science at the University of Nevada, Reno. Before that, he received his BSc in actuarial science from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, here in Ghana. He is currently exploring the fields of statistical machine learning, computational statistics, probabilistic graphical models, and the Bayesian analysis with applications in public health. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Benjamin Osafo Ejare. Can we see you if you are here today?
Right. Can you guys hear me okay? Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our third guest person is Mr. Danny Texan. He pursued his BA in Economics and Statistics at the University of Ghana, moved on to pursue an MPhil in Economics again at the University of Ghana. He then went on to study an MA in Applied Economics at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. He is currently pursuing a PhD in Economics at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. We are grateful for your presence here today, sir. Mr. Danny, if you can hear us, kindly let us see you.
Yeah, all right. I'm here and I'm also glad to be part of this program and nice to meet you all.
Okay, thank you so much. Moving on, we have Mr. Hezekiah Adewimbi, a Nigerian by mere mention of his name. Mr. Hezekiah studied computer science and mathematics at Emmanuel Alayande College of Education, Oyo State. A month after his national service, he got a fully funded scholarship to study master's degree in mathematical sciences at the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences, Ghana. Hezekiah is currently a PhD candidate and a graduate teaching assistant at Kent State University, Ohio, United States. Thank you so much, Mr. Hezekiah. Kindly let us see you if you are here.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, thank you, sir. Our last guest for today is Mr. Enoch Sechi-Yeboah, who is currently pursuing a PhD in statistics and actuarial science at the University of Ghana. His research interests comprise large deviation, machine learning, and multivariate analysis. Mr. Enoch, please, if you are here, let us see you. Hello, Mr. Enoch Sechi. Okay, it seems he hasn't joined us yet, but then as and when he does, I would alert the entire house. You would agree with me that that was a pretty packed and sophisticated profile reading we have there. You are being informed that at the right time, we would open the floor for you to ask any question on your mind, pursuing anything regarding studying abroad. Moving on, we begin our discussions by looking at the entire school application process. So we have lots of people or lots of students who have ambitions of studying abroad. But the problem is they don't have the right kind of information, they don't have the right kind of knowledge, they don't have the right kind of tools. Today's program promises to enlighten us on the entire school application process. And leading this discussion will be Mr. Benjamin Osafo Ejare, who will be telling us about the entire requirements, all the different types of application windows we have, fall, autumn, summer, and the impact it has on the entire application process. So, Mr. Benjamin Osafo Ejare, can you please tell us what entails school application process or deciding to study abroad? What you should know, the requirements you should have regarding your CV, your SOP, graduate test, and whatnot, every other thing regarding studying abroad. Can you please enlighten us on that?
Sure, I'll be glad. Thank you. Let me try to share my screen right now.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, so can you guys all see my screen and hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
All right, so my name is Benjamin Osafo-Ejari. Like Lois rightly said, it's a pleasure to be presenting to you guys today. I've pretty much been in your shoes a couple of years back. I also did my national service as a teaching assistant at the Department of Statistics at Legon. So kind of from Tech to Legon. So I've traversed a lot from Tech to Legon to Nevada, and I'm now in Michigan, Ann Arbor. So let's see what we have today about school applications. All right. So, okay. All right. So we are going to review firsthand the application windows and then the application requirements. All right. So, okay. So for studying abroad, they typically have 3 windows. We have the fall window, the spring window, and the summer. Okay. So the fall usually spans from August to December. That is what we call first semester in Ghana, okay? And the spring is from January to April. That is what we call second semester. And then summer is from May to July, which we call long vacation, where people usually have internships. So these are the 3 major admission cycles for graduate studies abroad. And the application process typically has 3 forms. Some are strictly online, okay? Some are also paper-based, which is typically uncommon, like having a whole application pack where you fill out forms and then mail it to the school. And some are hybrid, situations where you will fill a part of the application online and then the other part as paperwork, okay? But one thing you should keep note is that for online applications, you'll be required to create an account, and most likely you'll be required to use an email account as well. So if you don't have an email address yet, I encourage you to get an email address or an email account, and I prefer using Google Gmail account because it comes with several other perks like Google Drive and other awesome functionalities. All right, so let's see what we have next. Now let's look at a few things to note. Okay, so people order their application precedence by what I have here. So people like to start with deadlines. Others go by school rankings, and I think my colleague Daniel will be talking more about school rankings. Okay, so people categorize schools by deadlines. Which ones have early deadlines? And others to look at the rankings of the school. Others to look at funding availability. Some people are ready to fund their education, so they may not really need funding from the schools, but somebody else might say funding is my priority. So they might order funding as the first in the pecking order, and then admission requirements, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So some things you should take care of, you should take notice, keep track of your password and IDs. Although you can always reset your password and IDs if you lose them, but it's something that you don't want to lose out. Next thing is that I recommend that you use a cloud-based storage system, okay, like Google Drive, Dropbox, Mega, etc., to secure your documents. Okay, don't secure your documents on your laptops, okay, because you could lose your laptop or anything could happen to it. You could also damage it. But then if you subscribe to Google Drive or Gmail, you have automatic like 15 gigabytes, which can store your files. So I recommend that before you start your applications, gather all your documents on the cloud-based system. Google Drive is free. Mega gives you 50 gigabytes free of charge. So that is something that you may want to consider whenever you are making applications for graduate schools. Next is that keep constant touch with the department, okay? So if something is unclear to you from the website, for example, some departments state categorically that they have funding availabilities for a coming application window. Some departments don't do that. Now, if you are somebody maybe like me who cannot fund your education, because just about a year I'm paying like let me go the old currency, like 5 billion a year for my PhD program, just a year, and I'm doing it for 5 years. So if you are somebody who doesn't have funding, you may want to contact the department coordinator to be sure that there is funding availability before you go ahead and apply. Now, that being said, do not look annoying, okay? Do not sound annoying, like every piece of detail or information that you can find on the department website. Don't go and be emailing them back and forth. Otherwise, before you apply, you may already be flagged Okay, like don't be so annoying to the admissions committee. All right. Okay. Now let's go to the next thing. So let's look at the application requirements. Okay. So the first thing, these are the things that you typically have to have in place before you start school applications. Okay. The first thing is the transcripts. Okay. So you should have your transcript ready. Your transcripts should meet the course requirements. Okay. For the program that you are applying to. For example, I did a bachelor's degree. Let's say you have a bachelor's degree in statistics and you want to do a master's in chemistry. Okay, you know that the courses on your transcripts don't meet the admission requirements. So make sure you have your transcript set. And then I'll talk more about this. You also need your degree certificate if you have graduated already. And schools in the US or the US call it diploma. So in case you are applying and you see apply with your transcript and diploma, don't ask yourself what is a diploma. Okay, it's just basically your degree certificate. Okay, that's how the Americans just choose to call it. Have your statement of purpose, have some recommendation letters from your professors, have your curriculum vitae or the CV, and then have some test scores like GRE, IELTS, TOEFL. My colleagues will talk about this more. And then sometimes research proposal, which is not usually a requirement, but they could still ask. So I'm going to slice and dice all these pieces, and then so that it gives you a pretty good intuition of what I'm trying to say by all these application requirements. All right, so let's look at the documents. Just so you know, if you see that fancy flower there, I just love that flower. So if you want to send me a present, you can send me that flower. That's why you see it as my wallpaper. Anyways, so let's slice and dice the documents one after the other. Whoa, what was that? All right, so let's look at the transcripts. I have to be moving this up and down. Okay. All right, so what is the transcript? Most schools require that the minimum GPA to apply for graduate school is 3.0. Although I know a couple of other schools that have 2.75, 2.8, but the minimum across is 3.0, okay? That is all that matters. And then check with the department to be sure that the minimum GPA is 3.0, although typically that's what you're gonna be seeing. Now, a comment on the transcript, okay? I say that there should be a positive correlation between your grades and your years. What do I mean by this? Most schools look out for your ending grades, as in your third and final year grades. So for example, they have the perception that most students don't perform, they don't acclimate with the university system in their first and second years. So even if you perform so terribly, it's not much of a problem so long as you do exceptionally well in your third and final year, okay? So your transcript should just be progressing. But if you do exceptionally well, you get like the 4.0s and the 8s in your first year, and towards your final year, you start getting B's and C's. That is where there is a problem, because the prediction or the forecast is that your attitude is what declining. It means that you can't pursue a graduate study, which is more rigorous. So if you are still in school and you are watching us today, make sure that even if you had some terrible grades in your first, second, even in your third year, your final year should be a change, okay? It should be the point where things should happen, right? Next is that some schools require that, especially the online-based schools, they require that you scan official soft copies of your transcript and then upload it, okay? Some other schools also require that you seal it and then transfer it from your school, okay? So what I mean by official scan copy is, don't print the transcript from your web page. Don't go to your student portal and then print the transcript. That is not official. Okay, official transcript has to come from your department or your registrar. Okay, so you take the transcript, then you scan it. That is what I mean by scanned official soft copies. All right. So some schools will require that you upload them in the application process. Other schools will also require that you mail it to them. Okay, from the registrar directly. And sometimes some schools also require credential evaluation. And some bodies that do this are the WES, we have the ESE, ECE, and then IEFR. The purpose of this is to bring, this is usually a US-based system, okay, where they ask you to do the transcript evaluation. The purpose is to bring you to the US level so that if somebody is applying from Korea, somebody is applying from La Cote d'Ivoire, even in Ghana, KNUST, I think while I was there, A was 70, but Legon, A is 80. So if somebody gets A somewhere and B somewhere, you don't want to use that nominal level to judge students. So some schools require that send your transcript to an external body, let them convert and standardize it so that it will give them a fairer way of evaluating applicants. All right. So check with the school. Some schools require, it is not so common, but it does happen. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead. So that is all I have on transcript. Let's go to test scores. Most schools typically in the US require the GMAT and the GRE for admission. Okay. And a few other schools require the TOEFL and IELTS from countries whose first language is not English. These are just some schools. So when you are applying, these are some questions that people used to ask. When you are applying and they ask you, is English your first language? Please no. Ghana doesn't have English as a first language. All right. So if the school requires that you take the TOEFL or the IELTS, you have to meet that requirement. Now, this is something that I want you to also take note that most schools, due to the COVID, they have relaxed these requirements. So most schools have relaxed GRE and TOEFL requirements because they don't want you to risk your lives having to go and sit at test centers to take the exam. So some of the schools have relaxed these requirements. So this is the best time to apply if you are somebody who has phobia for GRE or these test scores. All right. My colleagues will talk more about what these test scores entail in later presentations. So let me go ahead. Now let me go to the next item that I talked about, and that is the statement of purpose. Okay. Some people call it admission essay, others call it statement of intent, others call it personal statement. Okay. But look at it this way. You submit your transcript, you submit your degree certificate, you submit a whole other things, but then they don't really get personal with you. And not all schools can have interviews with applicants. So they use the statement of purpose as an opportunity to market yourself. This is one of the most important sessions of your application. You don't want to mess with your SOP. Okay. So what typically comprises the SOP? You can start with your motivation for pursuing the graduate program. Why do you want to pursue a master's in earthcraft science? Why do you want to pursue a master's in astronomy? Okay. Then next you talk about your background, talking about your educational experiences, some courses that you are taking in your undergraduate program that align with the graduate study that you are applying for, your research background. If you did some projects in your undergraduate courses, you can talk about them. And then your working experience, okay? If you did internships that are relevant to the graduate program, this is where you market yourself to the admissions committee. Next is relevant skills and accomplishments. Maybe you got some luck. You won the dean list. You won maybe the best student for a project or a course or whatsoever. This is where you can also talk about those things. And finally, you want to talk about your future goals and why you think the school that you are applying to is the best fit for you. Okay. And this is also the part where you talk about, you mentioned a few professors in the department that you think your research interest aligns with them. Okay. So this is where you talk about a few professors. Maybe you have read about their publications and you think you want to work with them. That should typically be the final stage of your SOP. Now, I said the SOP is to market yourself, because that's the only way you get to talk to the admissions committee. But sometimes, as we know in life, maybe you may have had some terrible grades, like some D's and some E's or some F's, that are just outliers, okay? Feel free to also use the SOP to explain to them why you had those grades. So for example, you can see that in my measure theory class, I had a D. This was because maybe I was sick for the whole semester, or I had to do some campus work. So it's also an opportunity for you to explain to them why you had a few terrible grades. Okay, so the SOP is like an opportunity for you to market yourself to the admissions committee. Next, so these are some useful tips that I could come up with when you are writing your SOP. The first is that take your time in writing the SOP. Okay, unless you are so good at writing, it's not something that you can write overnight. So start well ahead. It can take months, it can take 2 months, it can take several weeks to write a good SOP. Mind you, the SOP is the way to market yourself. So even if your transcript says you have 4.0, your resume is good, and then your recommendation letters are strong, and you write a terrible SOP, like there is no correlation. So your SOP matters a lot. So take your time to write it and be creative, articulate, and informative. Okay. Make sure that your SOPs are error-proof. You can use some functionalities like Grammarly, or you can just ask your colleagues to review for you, people that you think won't steal your ideas. Okay. And then don't start your SOPs with boring stories. Okay. The admission committee comprises professors who are always doing research. They are very busy, so they don't have time to read about people's lives. For example, I'm the only person from my village who has had the opportunity to go to the university. My dad was a bank manager. My sister is now a nurse. I mean, who cares about your personal life? They don't have time to review it. They will flag it and then just drop it off. Okay, so that is one thing you don't want to do. Next is that don't rely on emotional motivations, like I want to help the needy. I mean, this is a cliche. Everybody wants to help somebody, but I mean, tell us why we should admit you into our program. This is not where you tell us about I want to help the needy. Maybe for a couple of social science programs, this may be helpful, but this is not something I would generally recommend. All right. And don't say, please give me funding. Don't use please at all in your SOP. Don't beg them. Okay, don't use please. Just tell them why you think you are the best candidate amongst applicants from all over the world. All right. So let's look at a case study. Let's look at 2 SOPs. I'm just going to read very quickly here. And then I'm going to leave you to judge which of them may be good. I'm just looking at the motivation side. Okay. So let's say this is how you start your SOP. And you say, like, it thrills me to write this essay to the Department of XYZ concerning my application for an MS in XYZ. I come from a small town in XYZ region of Ghana, where only few people go to college. Since my days in stage 1, I have always seen myself touching the pinnacle of academia. Okay, that's good. They are telling us that you can speak good English. Well, this has inspired me to apply to your distinguished program at XYZ University to pursue a graduate study in earthcraft science. You know, it's just like writing essays. We've all written essays before. The introductory part, the motivation part should be outstanding, okay? Because they don't read through the entire SOPs. They just pick key things. So if they realize that this guy makes some sense, okay, they can forecast that the SOP will be very interesting. That is when they read. But I'm not sure I will go with an SOP like this. Let's look at the second case study. This is so lengthy and boring, okay? But I'm going to leave you to judge by yourself. So this person goes ahead to say that we live in a data-driven age where the application of mathematical and computational techniques have become indispensable and highly sought after in all aspects of life, from the applications in the medical, pharmaceutical industries, and engineering, blah, blah, blah. With such huge volumes of data, with variety and fast-moving velocity, there is a need for novel methodologies and refinements in existing models to analyze and make meaningful decisions in solving the ever-increasing complex challenges we face in this digital age. So before if I were on the committee, I see that this person is trying to say that they have a problem that they want to solve in their graduate study. So it interests me to go ahead. So my decision to apply for a doctoral study in statistics is strongly influenced by my strong passion for deriving meaningful insights from data and blah, blah, blah. Because of time, I'm just going to have to skip this, but we will give you all these resources to help you know which is a good SOP and which is not. All right. So I'm just going to have to jump to the next session. Now let's go to the curriculum vitae. So this is also another opportunity for you to market yourself to the admissions committee. Okay. So think of this as a summary of your academic professional life experiences. Okay. And once again, make sure that this is professional and error-proof. So a few things that you can expect to put on your SOP are your education, your research interests, your working experiences. It can include internships if you have any, some projects and publications, some honors and awards, relevant courses from MOOCs. This means massive open online courses, and they are very, very helpful. In fact, I take lots of courses from Coursera for free, and they have played key roles in landing me offers. Okay. So you can take courses for free from Coursera and EDX and put it on your CV. And then more importantly, if you have some community engagement, some leadership roles, you are just telling them that you didn't spend your 4 years in school. Your 4 years in school wasn't pigeonholed on academics. So this is something that should typically be on your curriculum vitae. The asterisk there means that if you have any interesting projects, I recommend that you put a link to it, okay, to make it outstanding. I'm not sure if I can share one with you right now. Maybe later in the after I will show you a sample SOP, and so that you have a good feel of what I'm talking about. Okay, but we will leave some resources with the administrator for this program so that you can make references later. All right, so let's go to the next thing. Now, your recommendation letters. Okay, so schools typically require three letters of recommendations for your application, and they come in two forms. Situations where your lecturers, or what we call professors here, have to write the letters and then mail it to the schools, or it can be online or paper-based. Okay, now this matters a lot. Okay, if you have a very good SOP, you have a very good curriculum vitae, you have a very good GPA. In fact, you have 4.0 GPA. This is where they can choose somebody with a 3.5 GPA than somebody with a 4.0 GPA. That is a letter of recommendation. So how well can people who have worked with you, your supervisors, your lecturers, market you? How well can they talk about you? So this pretty much lies on the quality of your relationship with your lecturers. All right. Because if somebody knows you, they can recommend you wholeheartedly. Okay, so somebody can have a 3.5 GPA, but they can recommend the person like, this is the best person I've worked with before, and they can say very nice things about the person. And they might trust recommendations from somebody with a good recommendations from somebody with 3.5 GPA than somebody with a 4.0 GPA. So make sure you develop a very good relationship with your lecturers. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is that these letters necessarily don't have to come from your professors or your lecturers. Okay, they could come from your employers, especially if you have been outside of school for about 10 years or 15 years. You can use your supervisor. You can let your supervisor write a recommendation letter for you. Okay. So some tips: do not include letters from your friends or spiritual leaders or your parents. Okay, those ones don't count at all. Don't do that. Okay. Next is that you have to inform your lecturers well ahead of your applications and be in constant touch with them. Most of us have applied from Ghana before. Sometimes you notify a lecturer that you want him or her to recommend you, and it can take like 3 to 4 months, and they still haven't sent the recommendation letter. Meanwhile, the deadline is almost due, and you applied like 4 months ago. So this is pretty much something I find with some of our lecturers in Ghana. Inform them well ahead of your applications. Don't wait until the dying minute. Otherwise, your application will not be complete and you will lose the application fee. Because for most schools, if the application is not complete, they will not open the packet at all. So inform your lecturers well ahead before you even start the application. All right. Next thing is try to assist your referees, especially when it comes to online recommendations. Not everybody is privy to using computers. Okay, it may shock you. Some people just want to recommend you, but they don't even know how to fill forms online. So help them, assist them if they need assistance in doing recommendations for you. And finally, the most important thing concerning this slide is develop positive relationship with your professors. Okay, if you are somebody who is already in school, be active in class, ask questions. Okay, create an academic relationship with your professor, because the next 3 years, when you come back for the professor to recommend you, the best thing they can do is to pull your transcript and say, oh, you had an A in my class. So they will just write, I know Mr. Benjamin Osafo Jare, he took my class, he had an A. I recommend him to your school. This is not a strong recommendation. But if you are somebody who used to ask questions, you go to the professor, to his office to ask questions, you demonstrate that you are interested in the course that you are taking. They can write something positive. I have known Mr. Benjamin Osafo Jare. He's very active in class. He asks intelligent questions. And one thing remarkable about him is that he will not relent until he finds solutions to something he does not understand. So leave them a reason to remember you and not to write just any, what do we call it, unprofessional or not befitting SOP. Letters of recommendation for you. So let's look at this case studies. So this is a recommendation letter that a professor wrote for somebody. And this is all that a person wrote. So this is actually a terrible letter. Like, this tells them that you don't actually want to recommend. You just felt like it's an obligation. Okay, so you have to do it. This is not a good recommendation letter. Although you don't see what they send, but this is the reason why I said you should develop a good academic relationship. I didn't say develop a good relationship, develop a good academic. All right, let's look at case 2. This is what another professor wrote about somebody. This looks okay. This is a good letter. At least they wrote a couple of things about the person. Now look at this. This is an outstanding letter. It's not just by the text. Okay, I can't read this out to you right now. I will leave these resources with the administrator here. But you can see that the person is saying a lot about the person. So if you have 4.0 GPA and a professor writes this letter of recommendation for you, and somebody has 3.5, okay, and the professor wrote this recommendation letter for the person, mind you, the typical minimum admission requirement is 3.0. So anybody who meets the 3.0 qualifies. Don't say that I have 4.0 and my friend had 3.5 and then he got into the same school I applied to. How good is your SOP? How strong are your letters of recommendations? So these are things that you need to consider, okay? Once you meet the minimum requirements, other things come into play before they award you the admission, all right? So this is all about the recommendation letters. I have just one more thing to talk about. That is research proposal. This is not typically required. I think mostly schools in Australia and a couple of other schools in Canada, as well as a few schools in Europe, require research proposal, but it is not something that you expect. I mean, I have never written one before, okay? But in case the country where you are applying to, the department, the school requires one, this is what they expect you to do. So it's basically a kind of like a preview of your thesis, okay? So the purpose is to convince the supervisor or the admissions committee that your topic and approach are sound. So they should consider you for admission, because most graduate studies are research-based, okay? For example, my PhD like this, I'll be doing a PhD thesis. So if they required me to get a research proposal, I'll have to write something about what I want to do, okay? And so this is a structure. The rationale for a choice of topic, or the choice of topic showing why it is important and useful within the concerns of the discipline. And I recommend that you indicate any limitations of your aims, okay? Don't go and brag that you can write a model that can, or you can bring you can develop some chemicals that will, or some vaccines that will die off vaccines, when you know, I mean COVID-19, when you know you can't do that. So don't be overly ambitious, okay? Just talk about some limitations, and then talk about existing literature, okay? Do some literature review, and then outline the methodology, and perhaps some costs that you think you may incur in carrying out the research, and how long you think you can take, because if they evaluate your research proposal and they see that it can take more than the expected requirement to have your graduate study, it may also affect you. For example, most PhDs are 4 to 5 years in the US. So if your study is going to take 7 years, it's most likely that they will not mind you, all right? So add the timeliness of your study. And then I guess that should pretty much be it. So these are my final takeaways. Apply very early. Don't wait until deadlines. And then contact your lecturers well ahead of applications and deadlines, all right? And then take time to write your SOP. This is the opportunity to market yourself. Don't just write any mediocre letter or essay, okay? It can do more harm than good, all right? And write a professional CV. I wish I could show you one. Maybe I have about 5 minutes. Maybe I will try and see if I can show you what I meant by that. And if you are still in college, ace your grades at least at your 3rd and final years, okay? It doesn't matter how you start in life. What matters is how you end. So if you are still in college, make sure your 3rd and final grades at least just below the grades, all right? And then keep all your documents secure and handy. like I said, use cloud-based systems. They are free. You don't need to pay. Just create a Google account, and then you get 15 gigabytes. Or you can use Mega, which I use a lot because I get 50 gigabytes free of data storage. Or you can use Dropbox, okay? And then take time to prepare and ace the test course. If you want to take the GRE or the TOEFL, take your time to prepare, okay? It can also make and unmake you. If you get 4.0 good essays and all that, and your GRE is very, I won't say terrible, that is not that is an unkind word, but just make sure that there is some correlation between your performance and the GRE. Don't take your time to ace the GRE. Somebody with a 3.0 GPA with a strong GRE score stands a better chance than somebody with a 4.0 with a very low GRE score. It varies from departments, okay? And I think Daniel will talk more about this. So, and then one more important thing, if your department requires that you mail documents, please mail them early, okay? You can use DHL and FedEx. I prefer these two because you can track it, okay? And then you can use EMS and Ghana Post. I think DHL and FedEx take 5 working days, and FedEx, Ghana Post can take about 2 weeks. And this is not about marketing, but I've had people sharing their experiences that their documents never got to the school. So you can also confirm from, like, they got missing because you can't track Ghana Post, at least as at the time I was applying. So confirm with the department whether they have received your documents as well. And my last remarks, if you believe in prayer, don't eliminate prayer, because I believe in what the Bible said, that without God, man can do nothing without God. So if you believe in prayer, do say one whenever you are making school applications. So this is where I would like to end. Thank you. And I guess we will take a few questions. Yeah, so I'll hand over the presentation mode to Lois. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benjamin, for that detailed discussion. So we have a few questions on board. This is from Edmund. He wants to know if your lecturers who may not be professors can also vouch for you. I mean, when it comes to recommendation letters, maybe your lecturer is not a professor, but is it right or is it wise to make him or her vouch for you?
That's a good question. So let me tell you this. You may have heard me say that. So the word professor is typically used for it's the American way. Okay, so if somebody is a professor in Ghana, it means that the person has had the professorship rank. But even as I am here right now, once I start lecturing, I am called a professor. So it's just a name for lecturers. So if I said professor, it doesn't mean the person has to be a professor like by rank, but it is just a name for anybody who teaches in the US. Anybody who teaches in the US is called a professor. So I guess that clarifies that. And as a follow-up to that, don't just go to people who are just popular. Go to people who know you and can write quality stuff about you. Because somebody could be a professor, he could be the most popular professor in Ghana, but he can write just 1 line or 2 essays for you. Letters, 1 line or 2 sentences for you for as your recommendation, versus somebody who is a junior lecturer, somebody who might just have a master's degree, but might be lecturing, but can really, really talk well about you. That is what matters, and not by title. All right. I hope that answers that question.
Okay. Thank you, Benjamin. So this is a second question. Joseph wants to know if someone doesn't meet the 3.0 GPA cuts, is the person still eligible to apply to schools abroad? Maybe his or her GPA is 2.5 or 2.0. Is there hope for the person, or the person just forgets about studying abroad?
Yeah, thank you. So I think Enoch is going to talk about this later on. One thing I would recommend is that first, so if you have a very low GPA, okay, one thing I recommend is that take the GRE and ace it. Okay, if you do very well on the GRE, they might still think that, oh, you have the aptitude, and then explain in your SOP why your GPA is very low. Because it's not like they don't have an algorithm yet that scans through people's transcripts, and if you have less than 3.0, they will just flag your application. They will still open it. They will still go ahead and open it anyways. So write in your SOP why you have maybe that low GPA, and if you can write a GRE and Excel, do that. Finally, I didn't say that all schools, I said most schools. Like I said, if you want to look at a school like University of New Orleans in Louisiana, I think their GPA for the statistics or math program is 2.75. So I was just saying something generic, all right? Yeah. And yeah, lastly, like I said, Enoch will talk on this. You can also do a master's degree in Ghana and do well, and then before you apply for another master's or PhD here. You can also take classes from Coursera, like I showed, and then show them that, in fact, it's all about how you explain yourself in your SOP. I don't want to go deep about this because Enoch is going to handle that. Yeah.
Okay. Last question for you. Someone wants to know how they go about those applying with a CWA transcripts. I don't know what that means, but then that's a question.
Thank you. I guess that's a good question to ask. I am from KNUST, so we go with the CWA. So some schools require that you do, what do we call it? Credential evaluation, because some people don't know what CWA is. So they will ask you to evaluate your transcript with some bodies like WES, and then they will convert your CWA to GPA. Most schools too don't care at all. So it's not a big of a problem. Just check with the department side. Most schools don't care about whether you are using CWA, GPA, or whatsoever, because some schools in India use 10, I think over 10 GPA. Okay, so somebody might have 8.1 over 10. And KNUST uses percentage, and Legon uses 4.0, and I think UDS uses 5.0, and some other polytechnics. So check with the department whether they require that you do credential evaluation. Other than that, just apply with it. They can still interpret it that way. I hope this answers that question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ejari, for that detailed explanation. We are very much grateful, and as and when it's necessary, I'll come back to you again. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so the next item on the list is about funding. People have already started asking questions about scholarships and funding and grants. So we'll be talking about funding, and the person to lead this discussion will be Ms. Emmanuel Afaribia, who will be enlightening us on the different types of funding we have. That's the internal and then the external funding. And because she is pursuing her PhD in the United Kingdom, we will hear what she has to say about funding opportunities in the UK, and also how to write a very compelling statement of purpose. Ms. Emmanuel Afaribia, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I will share my screen now. Please give me a minute to do that. Lois, could you please confirm if you can see it? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen, Afaribia.
Okay, thank you. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to walk us through studying abroad, but particularly in the UK, and not just studying, but rather preparing to study. So funding opportunities in the UK. My colleague, Sezaka, will talk later about funding opportunities in other parts of Europe. So to begin with, just a brief profile. As Loris has already said, I had my bachelor's degree in maths and statistics in the University of Ghana. And then after that, worked as a teaching assistant. I worked with Benjamin in the same department. So currently I'm reading for a DPhil in statistics, and I specialize in infectious disease modeling. Just so we are sure that I want you to be confident that I know what I'm going to talk about, and I really am looking forward to sharing important tips with you. So I do have 4 years of post-bachelor's experience in academia, and that's from research to teaching to learning. And I will be talking a bit about that, and 3 years of coaching people in graduate study applications and having a number of good successes. I will talk about standardized tests, and I have taken 2 of them and of course passed. And also I have applied for some scholarships and ended up winning one of them. And I'm really privileged to have won that. And I will talk about some tips in doing that. So first, an outline of what we're going to be looking at. So UK funding in particular. So I'm going to talk about where to find these funding opportunities, the types of funding, the major scholarships that are available to Ghanaian applicants, and the application requirements and timelines. And then later on in the program, not now, I will talk about standardized tests. So first of all, where to find funding opportunities for the UK. Now, each UK university has a website, I mean, obviously, but the question is, where on the website would I see these funding opportunities? The first is to, please hold on a minute. Okay, sorry about the interruption. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me, please?
We can hear
Yes,
you.
we can.
Yes, please.
Yes,
We can hear you.
we can hear
Okay,
you.
thank you. Sorry about the
We can
interruption.
hear you.
So on where to find funding opportunities, on the website, on the fees and funding pages, are that most of the UK universities, just to make things very simple for potential applicants, call that page fees and funding. So when you go to the website, even if you can't navigate to that, on the search button, you see for Lancaster University, there's a search Lancaster University tab. And inside, when you just put in fees and funding, you will see opportunities there. So when you go on the school's website, that is where the first thing to look for if you've gotten to the part of your application where you're thinking about funding. So on next, it's important to understand the breakdown of funding, because that really influences what you apply for, how much you apply for, and which organizations you want to look at. So there are tuition fees. So tuition fees or college fees, what in Ghana we will call school fees, that goes directly to the school. But also you have to think about living expenses. So where you're going to live in the UK, the bills that you have to pay, your feeding and all of that. So all those things are important to think about. Now, there are scholarships that will cover one or part of these costs, and these are called partial scholarships. So say maybe half of your tuition, and these are normally offered by the school. I'll come to the school and external scholarships later. And then there are also full scholarships. So these full scholarships cover everything from they pay the fees and then give you a monthly amount of money to live on. It's called a stipend. And some of these even cater for your travel expenses to the UK. So that's, you want to aim for the full scholarships. However, you don't want to despise the partial scholarships, because a number of partial scholarships make up the full scholarships, if you get what I mean. So that is the breakdown of the funding, and then what you want to be thinking about when looking at how much is a scholarship body offering, and how much does your program cost, and how much you would need to live in the city. The school's website will give you a fair amount. So using the UK as an example, Oxford and Cambridge and London are very expensive cities, and more expensive than if you go to school, say in Lancaster or in other parts of the city. So where you're going to live in will determine the amount of money you need for a year. That's your living expenses. So having said that, let's now look at the funding types. So I've talked about where to find funding, the breakdown of funding, but now what are the types of funding? When you go to these websites, the fees and funding examples that I showed you, the number of scholarships that are available. They can be classed generally under 3 categories. So you would have the internal funding, and these internal funding opportunities are offered by the universities. And typically they are partial, but I put in there that the trend is changing. I know a couple of friends, Ghanaian friends who are in the UK now, and they are being fully funded by the university. So now there are university opportunities where you can be fully funded. Oxford also offers full funding for some courses. And there's this external funding where you're not being funded by the school. Your school fees and your accommodation and everything is not being paid by the school. It's being paid by an external body or the UK government. And these come with conditions, some of which maybe you have to return home upon completion. So these are some of the things you want to be thinking about. I will talk about these external funding opportunities a bit more because most Ghanaian students in the UK are on this funding stream. And the major scholarships available to international students in the UK fall under this category. And then there's a shared funding where the university or the government, the university partners with the government or a charity. It's important to understand these different funding types because they influence the requirements, which I'll talk about soon, and also the amount of money that you may have. Now, a top tip is to check your eligibility before applying, because some of the funding may say you have to be a certain age or that you have to perhaps have lived in your country for a number of years. If you don't satisfy this eligibility requirements and you apply, it will be a waste of time because they might not consider your application. So very important to check these. Now, let's go to the external funding. The first that I'll talk about is the Commonwealth Scholarship. I know quite a number of you may have heard about it before. So it's offered by the UK government, and they have the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship or the Commonwealth Split Scholarship, where the school and the government may share this. Now, may share the funding cost. In Ghana, if you want to apply for the Commonwealth Scholarship, your go-to organization is the Scholarship Secretariat. I don't know if a number of you have heard about it, but the Scholarship Secretariat is a body in Ghana that's responsible for disbursing scholarship funds. And they always put these opportunities on their website. So you have to apply through the Scholarship Secretariat, and then you get selected. If you get selected, then your application is forwarded to Commonwealth. I know that for Commonwealth, you need at least a second-class upper. But again, as Benjamin rightly said, do not let this perhaps deter you from applying. If you do apply with strong scores and also strong recommendations, your chances are high, really as high as somebody who has a perfect GPA. And the deadlines are in February, typically in February for courses that are due to start in October of the same year. I'll give a brief note on timelines and deadlines. Benjamin did say that it's important to apply early. So if you want to go to school in October, you don't start thinking about it in July, right? Because a number of application deadlines might have just been over. So the second is the Chevening Scholarship. It's also available for international students, but also Ghanaian students. And in Ghana, if you want to apply for Chevening, they have a website. I've put all the links to this on a dedicated resources page, which we will forward to the administrator and planner of this program to be made available to you. So there's a Chevening website, and when you go to the website, you can see the apply tab there. You just click on that and then you follow the prompts. Now, Chevening and a number of scholarships that I'll talk about in a minute really focus on leadership. So they want people who have a record of leadership, but who are also passionate about leading and influencing society. Of course, we are all here and we are all studying because we want to influence society, because we want to be a change, and we want to make a change. But the question is, how are you showing this? You need to show this in your application. And even as you are in school, again, Benjamin mentioned this, you want to show that you weren't just bent on your academics, you were doing other things. Were you taking leadership positions, maybe as a departmental club head, or something that will give you some soft skills? So Chevening is one scholarship that you'd want to look out for. If you want a one-year master's, if you want something like a PhD, it's not your go-to. And again, the deadline is typically 11 months before. You can see here that the deadline is 2nd November, which is about 2 months if you want to go next year. So you have to start thinking about these things way ahead of time. Now, 2 other scholarships, which I will breeze through. I say I'll breeze through because these scholarships have dedicated websites, just as a Chevening, and there's quite a lot of information there. So if you want to apply for them, I would encourage you to note it down and read through the information on the website, because you want to be given in the documents, you want to be applying in the way that you have been asked. So for the Gates Scholarship, these 2 scholarships, although are external, are only tenable at specific universities. The Gates Scholarship is available at the University of Cambridge, and you need to have a first-class honors to apply for that. For other eligibility requirements, look at the website. But again, the deadlines are coming up soon. And the Rhodes Scholarship also, although it is external, it's only available at the University of Oxford. And it is really a leadership program in addition to giving you the funding. And so if you're thinking about being able to build up your skills for leadership while you are pursuing your master's or PhD, then the Rhodes Scholarship is a go-to. Now, you will have seen there that I've put the GPA, which is greater than 3.7. Again, please do not let this deter you. The deadline is soon, and I'll really encourage you. This is shameless advertisement for my scholarship, but one of the things that I will say, just in thinking about these scholarships and the opportunities that are before you, is do not feel that you are not qualified. I thought that I couldn't get into Oxford because I didn't know anybody who had been to Oxford. But a good thing is with mentorship and hearing from people, that's why we are available to speak about these things. So all of the scholarship opportunities that we've mentioned, please do check them out, because they are available to be given. And if you don't apply it, and if you don't take the chance, then you can't even put yourself out there to be awarded a scholarship in the first place. So for this, what will you typically need? First of all, you need a number of things which prove your nationality, a number of things which prove your academic background. And Benjamin mentioned a number of things which really show why you want to be in the program. So, and I think that prove your nationality, you have birth certificate, passport, and the things that prove your academic background, the transcript, and some require the evidence of residence. Now, these are specifically for the Rhodes Scholarship, but I put them there because some of them, at least most of them, cut across to other scholarships like the Chevening. You would need an English language proficiency. Now, although we do study in English in our universities, we would need to show evidence of that. So for the University of Ghana, if you are in the University of Ghana, you can get this from the Language Center. They will just write a letter for you, confirming that you did your bachelor study in English, and that's all you need. You may be asked for test scores, so some scholarships or some schools may ask you for additional test scores, just as Benjamin has said. But most of the time, the scholarships do not ask for test scores. They only ask for evidence. So you can get this from your university, the Language Center. I don't know how it works in KNUST or other universities, but you can just ask. And there's also the personal statement. Now, Benjamin has talked at length about personal statements and the fact that it really needs to stand out. But I just want to add some further words, really like 2 words. The first is that it's your chance to explain what is in your CV and not a repetition of the CV. And what I mean by that is, for example, if in your CV you have shown that you have volunteered for XY organization, I really love sustainability and plastic waste management, so I'll use that as an example. So if you have volunteered as on a plastic waste management group, you want to, in your CV, in your personal statement or your statement of purpose, explain why you did that. So I really look at it this way. Your personal statement is to say what you have done, who you are, why you have done what you have done, and how the scholarship will enable you to do even greater things. And so having that outline really helps in thinking about, okay, what should go in there? So you're not going to say, I graduated from the University of Ghana in 2018. It's clear on your CV that you did. What did you do in the University of Ghana? What skills did you gain? And then why do you need a scholarship? How will the scholarship help you in achieving some future goals, in making the change that you really want to make? So those are my further words on the statement of purpose. And as Benjamin said, you have to write it. You will need to do a number of iterations of it. So start way ahead of time. And again, give it to people that you know do have the experience and to critique it and to give you ideas about it. So a note on timeline, specifically for this external UK scholarships, their funding deadlines are really early on. So please start early. We can't overemphasize this. Benjamin has already said that. For some of the earliest funding application deadlines are 13 months before. So if, say, Adjoa wants to start school in October next year, 2022, which is when most of the UK universities start their first term, and she wants to apply for, say, the Rhodes Scholarship, the deadline is this month. Now count the number of months from now to October. It's about 12 or 13. So she should have started thinking about it about a year and a half before. So, and we know that to put in a competitive application, to put in a splendid personal statement, you need time. Also, things like the passports and the recommendation letters, sometimes they don't depend on you. We know for birth certificates in Ghana, when you apply, it may take time. So you want to start thinking about all of this really early. So I won't go to the standardized test. I will just end here now on UK funding and we'll welcome questions. Thank you.
Thank you much, Ms. Afaribia, for that insightful presentation. I've got 3 questions for you. The first one is from Philomena Sambo. She wants to know if you need to get your acceptance letter before applying for scholarships in the UK.
Yes, thank you, Philomena. That's a very important question. So the short answer is it depends. It depends on the scholarship you are applying to. So for scholarships like the Chevening or the Rhodes Scholarship, you don't even need to have applied to the school at all. You just apply to the scholarship. And the reason why that is that some of the scholarships pay your application fee. So instead of you to pay the fee ahead, you rather apply to the scholarship. And then when you get the scholarship, they pay your application fee. However, the scholarship for the school, so I talked about internal and external, some of the school scholarships, in fact, the school scholarships are based upon your application to the school. So you would have needed to apply first to the school. And then in your application, and now this is important, I did mention that, but again, thank you for the question. In your application, the schools will require you to indicate if you want to be considered for their funding. You don't want to forget to tick that box. So please indicate that. Now, you do not need to have had the acceptance from them before they consider you for that funding. So yes, the short answer again is it depends.
Thank you for that answer. There's another question. Marian says, I just completed school and I'm interested in applying for MSc Medicine next year, but I'm really finding it hard to find a private organization that helps in providing full scholarships. since the schools I've gotten do not provide full scholarships, and the organization I have found require 2 years of experience.
Okay, thank you very much, Marian. So please, as I did mention that there are external funding opportunities, so you don't need, I'm really not sure what you mean by private organizations, but I mentioned the Commonwealth and the Chevening and the Rhodes and Cambridge and all of that. Please look at those sources if the school doesn't offer you funding opportunities. So please do not just focus on one organization and what their terms and conditions are when there are lots of them available. So yes, kindly go to the website of the scholarships that I have mentioned and take a look at that, and do not be limited to the school or to that particular private organization, because there are lots of them out there, as I've indicated.
Awesome. This is the last question. Edmond wants to know if schools in UK give preference to scholarships when you do well with JRE.
Okay, yeah, thank you. We'll talk about GRE later, and I will be showing that some courses don't even require it at all. So no, well, I think I should say that again, it depends. If the course you're applying for requires GRE, then if you do well in that standardized test, it is a reflection or a show of the fact that you will be able to do well on the course. And so definitely they will want to give you funding. However, if the course does not require GRE, then whether or not you have the GRE test makes no difference.
Okay.
So you would want to check, Lois, sorry. So you would want to check on the school's website whether or not they require GRE for that particular funding.
Okay, that would be all for now. We are very much grateful for that presentation, Ms. Afaribia. At the right time, I would call on you again. So our next speaker will be talking about funding opportunities that exist in Europe, but outside UK. Ms. Afaribia talked about scholarships and fundings that are available in the UK. And apparently there are a whole lot different processes involved with other European countries when it comes to application for scholarships. So leading this discussion will be Mr. Hezekiah Adewembi, who will talk to us about how to apply for funding in European countries, except in the UK. Mr. Hezekiah, are you there?
Yes, I'm with you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Okay.
I'm trying to share my screen, but this is giving me this signal. Oh, okay. I should get it right now, please. A minute. Oh. Okay. Let me try it again.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm still trying to share my screen. I'm using this laptop for the first time, so I don't know what happened.
Mr. Hezekiah, I think you can start. Maybe along the line, you then
Okay.
share your screen with us or something.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Hezekiah Adewembi. I'm currently in the United States, Kent State University. I'm to talk about opportunities in Europe. And I want to say that there are a lot of opportunities in Europe. Well, so many people focus their attention on US, UK. Well, maybe I should just share a story. For me, I don't want to write any of the standardized tests. whether GRE or TOEFL or anything. So I started my career by coming to Ghana to do masters at the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. Then after that, I got another opportunity in Europe, which is a Naval Scholarship. And during the program, after the program, I was able to get another opportunity here without writing any test and without paying any application fee. Okay, so opportunities in Europe, there are a lot of scholarships. There are about 2,725 universities across Europe, and each of them, they have funding, maybe departmental funding or external body that fund some of the program. Now, but the barrier with this in Europe is the language barrier, because some of them, almost all of them, they have their different languages, and those are the barrier that we really face when we're there. And not all the courses are taught in English. For me, I went to Poland to study pure mathematics, but on getting to Poland, I find out that pure mathematics courses are taught in Polish language, of which I know that mathematics itself is a language. And for me to go and do mathematics in another language again may be very, very difficult. So I have to opt in for another course, which is computer science. So that is the barrier about that. So application process for European schools, they are very easy sometimes, not all of them, but very easy in the sense that since some of them, their first language is not English, when you were coming or during the application process, the letter from the school that stated that all your courses are being taught in English and exams are conducted in English is enough for them to give the scholarship or to give admission. So, and some of them also require English test as well, depending on the European country that you are applying to. So some of them, you have to apply to school separate, and you have to apply to the scholarship body separate. Now, some school as well, if you want to do PhD there, you have to find a supervisor and work with your supervisor for the period of 1 year, where you and your supervisor, you sit and write the research proposal. And after that, that is when you can apply. After you and your supervisor has agreed on a particular proposal, then you can now start your application. Yeah, but some of them as well, the application for both funding and the scholarship are together. And I remember my application for a Naval Scholarship, I think it took me less than 3 hours before I completed the application, because they do not ask for anything except results, transcript, and a research proposal, and that's all. So sometimes they will even tell you the percentage of how they will grade your document. I think during our time, the research proposal was about 50%, and the transcript and results is about 40%. I can't remember what they attached the remaining 10% to. Fortunately for us, they didn't even ask for a recommendation letter. So those are the different opportunities in Europe. And also, it is also very easy to move after your study from Europe to UK, US, and Canada. So if you have been considering UK and you have been receiving, or US, Canada, and you've been receiving rejection letter, well, I will advise that you also consider some schools in Europe, so that if you get there, pending the time that you were there, you can add more to your CV, more to your experience. Then after your program, you will be able to move to your desired destination. Also, another advantage of considering European country is you can work and study. Well, during my time there, during summer break, which is for about 3 months, because of the visa type that we have, which is a Schengen visa, we go out and work And I know some of my colleagues, immediately we graduated, we are not told to go back to our country. Some of them are still there working now, and some of them were able to get PhD also in Europe. So because I couldn't share my screen, I want to show us some websites, because there are some websites that have done a lot of good jobs in terms of you looking for different opportunity one after the other. They combined all these opportunity together so that any country that you want to go in Europe, maybe in Switzerland, if you want to go to Poland, they have the list of all the scholarships that you can access in Poland. They listed it according to the country. And also, there are some websites as well that I put on my slide where you can get what you call jobs. Now, jobs in terms of if you want to do a master's program, maybe a particular supervisor has funding, the supervisor will write what you want to work on and put it on the website. So this website, they update it every day to put some of these jobs. For these kind of jobs, yes, you are doing your master's, you are doing research, you will definitely get certificates at the end of the day, but you don't need to think about funding when you get this job, because this comes with the topic that you work on, and it comes with funding as well. And for me, I always like to apply for such kind of opportunity, because now you don't really have to do much in terms of writing research proposal, because the topic was proposed by the lecturer. So also, sometimes when you apply for this kind of opportunity, it is the lecturer that is in charge that will assess everything that you submitted, not like a body. Once the lecturer is satisfied with your results and everything that you submitted, then you have it. Also, we have that for PhDs students as well. Yeah, I think for now that should be all. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Hezekiah. I just have one question for you. Someone wants to know if it is possible to take both external and internal scholarships.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. It depends on the course you are doing. I know of a friend in biology. My friend was working in the lab and also is a scholarship holder. Now, he's getting money from the scholarship board, and because he's working in the lab, working with a particular supervisor that also has funding, the supervisor also gives something at the end of every month. So it depends, but there are some bodies that once you are enjoying one scholarship, one must definitely close. You cannot enjoy the two together. And also in Europe, most of the time what they do is the stipend that will be given to you, that's where you'll be paying your accommodation and feeding. And you know, these people, they really get sense. They don't want you to use the money that you'll be getting from them to develop your own country or to continue to accumulate money for yourself when you are enjoying the scholarship. So they give you the money that will definitely be enough for you, that if you are somebody that does not know how to spend before the end of the month, sometimes you even have to borrow. So, but the money that they will be given at the end of the month will definitely be enough. Thank you.
Thank you for that submission. The second question is, please, what is the website on which I can access the scholarships available in Europe? I think you mentioned the website. People want to know the name of that website.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe I should just put it on the chat now. I have two of them right here that are very good to access all opportunities in Europe. Oh, I'm doing that right now in the chat. Okay, so we have the first one now, and I will put the second one. So we have the two now. So those are the two websites that I always use whenever I'm looking for opportunity in Europe. The second one is when I'm looking for maybe jobs, like a supervisor already has funding, or there's a PhD where the topic is already set out. So it's just for me to apply. Yeah.
Okay. Last question for you. Someone wants to know if you could give a list of schools outside the UK that offer scholarship master's program.
Okay. As I said earlier, I enjoyed scholarship in Poland, which is Naval Scholarship, but now they call it the Banach Scholarship. So we have scholarship in Switzerland as well. Let me just list some of them as I have it on my slide. Okay, so we have ETH Zurich Excellence Scholarship, that is in Switzerland. We have the Swiss Government Excellence Scholarship as well. We can see all those ones on that link that I just said. And also, if it is Netherlands that you want to go, we have the Amsterdam Merit Scholarship. It's also for masters. We have the Holland scholarships. It's also for masters. So if your own choice of country is Italy, we have Italian government scholarship. We have CICOPS scholarship for masters. We have IMT scholarship. So if your own choice of university is Ireland, we have Dublin Institute of Technology. We have NUI Gateway. So there are so many of them. If it is Hungary or you want to go, we have the Hungarian government scholarship, and we have the Stipendium Hungarian scholarship. So if it is France that you want to go, we have the EIFEL scholarship, and so many of them that you can explore. But as I said earlier, that the constraint sometimes is not all the courses that all these universities offer in English, because they have their own language. So it is important before application that you find out that the language of instruction is English. And for those people that can speak different language, is a plus. If you can speak French and you want to apply to Italy, especially if you want to study in French, it's a good plus. If you know how to speak Polish and you want to study in Poland, it will be very, very easy for you when you apply for scholarship, since they know that you can speak their language. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you to Mr. Hezekiah. And because you couldn't share your screen, people are asking if your slides would be available after the conference for perusal.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I would get back to you again. Thank you, Mr. Hezekiah.
All right. Thank you.
So far, our discussions have been on funding opportunities in the UK and Europe. But maybe you are someone out there who wants to study in the United States or somewhere outside the European continent, and you want to know the funding and scholarship opportunities available in the United States. Leading this discussion would be Mr. Daniel Texan, who would be explaining to us how the funding system works in the United States and certain petty tips that we should be aware of if we want to apply for scholarship in the United States. Mr. Daniel Texan, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Lois. Can you please hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
All right, great. So I want to thank Best Grade Services for this opportunity. I also want to thank my colleagues who have already, shared a lot of content with us. My focus will just be giving us something practical, but we've all talked about schools, how to, search and everything. I'll touch a bit on funding in the US, then I move straight into how to search for schools and how to even go about it and which resources to even use in the process. So I would like to share my screen now. Okay, great. So let's just dive into it. So basically in the US, there are as it has been explained already, there are three main types of funding: the internal. We also have some form of a hybrid. That's the semi-internal funding and the external funding. I believe my colleagues have talked extensively on the external, the various types of scholarship out there. I'll just focus a little bit on the internal when it comes to the US. So in the internal, when you're given a scholarship, it's usually called an assistantship, where you work in the school. You can't work outside of the school based on the F1 visa given to students who come to study in the US. And I also think in Canada as well. So you are given opportunity to work on campus during the school period. That's the semester period that we have. So we have types of internal funding. When you are given a scholarship, it's in form of a teaching assistant, a research assistant, or an administration assistant. Administration assistant just means you do some administrative work. Usually, maybe you work with a library system. You might work with the graduate admissions office. Just do some paperwork for them. Not too much work, sometimes 2 to 3 hours a day or even less. And yeah, that's the nature of the scholarship given. So when you're looking for schools and you see things known as assistantship, it just means you are assistant in the department or in the school where you are. And there are also scholarships on the website, but mostly these scholarships are also somehow tied with some responsibilities in the department. Let's go to the semi-internal funding. So these are funding in forms of fellowships and tuition waiver, etc. So an example is fellowship is usually, more often than not, is mostly won by those who are already in a program or who already have a research proposal. So most fellowships are tied to your research. So if you are doing something in, let's say, cancer, health, you are doing something in electrical engineering, you are doing something in mechanical engineering, order, you can apply for fellowships, and they want to see your progress so far in your program. They want to see your dissertation, at least a proposal, then they give the fellowship to you. So that's more of either you are in a STEM program or STEM focus. That's really, that goes more often with those in a STEM program. So I think that's it for that. Also with tuition waiver. So in the US, there's two types of waiver that comes in. We have, as an international student, you have to pay two types of tuition. You have to pay the in-state and the out-of-state tuition. So if you are coming outside of the US, you're an out-of-state sort of, you're an international student. So sometimes the school downgrades the fact that you have to pay out-of-state to in-state. So let's assume your out-of-state students are paying like $12,000. In-state students are paying $3,000. The school can give you a scholarship that moves you to just pay $3,000 or $2,000. So that's also really good when it comes to the tuition waiver. I believe the external scholarship are the ones from governments and private institutions, which we've already talked about. So let's move on that. So things to consider, most of this have been extensively discussed. So I just want to highlight one thing which is really related to the US. So, you know, in the US, with all this Black Lives Matter and all these things, they are very particular about diversity and inclusion. So usually, aside your statement of purpose, they also have what's known as the personal history and diversity essay. So they just want to see what you're bringing on board, the form of diversity you're bringing in. They usually tell you on the school's website how this letter should be structured. So I don't want to give a one size fits all every school and the way they want it. Sometimes when they expect you to write a diversity essay, what they would ask is your statement of purpose should only focus on your research. So they don't want you to add the part of telling your story in your statement of purpose. They want you to exclude or split them up. So just look at the requirements on the school's website before you proceed. And test scores will be talked about, and CV has also been extensively talked about. So I just want to move on to Now, the big question is, how then do I apply? Where am I applying to? How do I search for these schools? It's a big question because mostly the question that just came up that you want them to tell you some schools in Europe that have scholarship for masters. It's very difficult, but the point is sometimes I want to encourage you. This question, if you ask someone this question, the best they can do is tell you the only thing that worked for them. That is the school they only apply that worked for them. They can just tell them, oh, I'm in this school, so try and apply to this school. But sometimes the program you want to offer is different from what they are doing. So they don't even have much knowledge in the field you want to apply to. So I would encourage that if guidelines are given you, follow through with it, do the search. It's a difficult one, and I would want us to go through a few ones, just a practical ways as to how to do it. So so let's see, what can we do in terms of the practical ways of searching for schools, applying? Where do I start from? So there's a wonderful resource known as the 4ICU. It's like you can just go to Google and search 4ICU universities, and all the universities in the whole world are going to pop up based on regions, based on states, based on continents. Wherever you want to go, you look at it. So I want us to do some practical school search here, so you know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to share. Let me reshare my screen again. Okay. Okay, great. So can you please see my browser now?
Yeah, we can see.
Great. So say I want to study in the US and I'm trying to look for schools. So I just come here for ICU universities. So it just pops up. So this gives you all the universities. This is actually in the US. But if you want to go to the actual website, it's 4icu.com. Any region at all, you can just type 4ICU Europe, 4ICU Australia, they are all going to pop up. So we see the US here, North America, all the rest. But let's go to the official website here. This is the general website here. So we see that all the regions are here based on continents. Let's say I want to go to North America. So North America is US, Canada. So I click on North America. Then they pop up. The countries there pop up. So I want to go to the US. So I click on the US. Then all other, it pops up based on states. So I think in the US there are about 50 states. So all of them are here. So wow, amazing. Maybe you want to go to, let's just pick one. Let's say we want to go to New York. We want to go and see Glass and Kwan. So you just choose New York. So these are all the universities in New York over here, the New York State. So based on this, you can just choose any school you want to. All the schools are here, they will pop up for you. But the downside of this is you don't really know the programs they have. So you have to delve deeper into it before you can actually know the program they do. So let's say, okay, let me go to Illinois. And let's go to Illinois State University. So when you click on the university, the name of the university here, when you click on it, it sends you to the website of the school. So once you click on it, it sends you to the website of the school. Now, when you get to the website of the school, there are two main things you need to look out for. You look out for the graduate programs they offer at the graduate website, and you also look at the department offering the program you are interested in, their website. So say you come here, let's check admissions. So good. Then we see graduate students. You click on it. You're definitely going to see maybe graduate programs over here. Awesome. Then you click on it. So with graduate programs, then you see all the graduate programs they offer. So, well, let's do some econs because I'm familiar with the econs environment. So we choose econs, so applied economics. Then there's an overview of what the program is about. So it says it's a master's program and train students to go into applied environment and also to go into PhD program. And it indicates that it's a STEM program. So by STEM, it means that you can have an extension after your UPT and all that. So that's another issue I don't want to go into now, but let me focus on the school search for now. So it talks about the requirements that Benjamin talked about, your GRE score. So it gives you examples, you need a quantitative score of 150 and a verbal score of just 140, all these things. So you take note of all this, write this information down. Then I think international students, it also indicates if you have to show this or if you have to show language proficiency or not. Then there are the deadlines as well here. So every information you want is here. Then we come to the scholarship part of it. So it says a tuition waiver of what 100%. So it means that you're not going to pay any tuition, and you are going to be working for the department. If you gain graduate assistantship, you don't really need to. You don't really choose if you are going to be a TA on RA or whatever. Usually, some of the departments they decide for you, but mostly in fields like engineering, you usually work in a lab. In fields like chemistry, you work in a lab and all that. So yeah. So these are things you need to look out for when you come to your website. So I think this is the graduate school website. And you can also check on the department website for extra information. So this is an example of how then do I look for schools. Also, there are also other rankings you can look at when you're looking for schools. Maybe you've shortlisted some schools and you want to see the rankings. You can still use the 4ICU universities in the US. So in the US, it says that there were 1,776 universities. This is a league table of them, not based on states, but just from start to finish, ranking all of them. So it tells you these are the schools here. But sometimes I don't really encourage coming here because this is just thousands. So I always encourage you to use the states so that you can focus on, okay, a region where the standard of living is less, where the funding opportunities are actually available for international students. You can look at places like Montana. Usually they're very, very cold regions. Most of the whites don't want to study there. And people coming in, international students, more often than not have increased chances in those areas. So that's one resource to also look at. And those who are asking about Europe, this same website can help you to figure out European universities, also based on countries as well. So in the US as well, you can also use US news. So you can just search on Google US news. Then you come here, whichever program rankings you want, engineering. So in the engineering field, you can choose, let's do some electrical engineering here. Then it's start popping up, MIT, Stanford, and the rest. But sometimes this websites are overwhelming and they usually doesn't rank all the schools. It only ranks mostly 100 and 150 of them. So not really the best. So you can use this as a guide, but I would always encourage to go to the 4ICU website. There are tons of universities over there which you can look at. Also, this is another website, but this website also ranks this specifically econ, because I was looking at some rankings in economics that brought me to this website. So this is at Tilburg University, and what they did was they ranked all the economic schools, and they said the business school had their rankings, so they also tried to rank economic schools. So if you are looking at something like that, you can also come to this website, and this can rank over, I think, all the schools, not just in the US, but also has regions. You can look at whichever region you want to study. So even we narrow it down to North America, it gives you all the universities here, and it ranks most of them for you. So this is a good resource to look out for. I also want to mention this. Good. So let me use this website as an example. So Mississippi State University, assuming I want to apply for an econ program. So when you go to a website, look out for prospective students, future students, admissions. So we just come here, we see future student, or we go to graduate admissions. So about our graduate programs. So when you come here, assuming I want to apply for an econ program, I look through, I think they don't have an economics program. I've already been at this website. So they don't have an econ program. What you can think of is what is relatively closer to economics. Most of us have just focused in the particular field or whatever we did in undergrad, or that's one thing you want to pursue. But you can somehow divert a bit and come back to, which can even lead you back to wherever you want to go, or even you might even find a new interest in that. So what they have here is, I think they have agric economics. So where did I see this? Good. So they have the agri economics program here. That's MSc. So you can just click on this and it will take you to the website. So at the website, they talk about the agri econ program. And you notice it's just a section, there are fields you want to major. You can major in agriculture economics, you can major in agri econs, you can major in environmental economics, you can major in food policy and all that. I know a friend of mine who got into this program. He had really, really good funding, because most of us were looking at econ, mainstream econ, but he had really, really good funding. And now he's moved on to do his PhD in environmental economics. So just look at something that is relatively closer to the field you are in, and that would help you. Finally, let's do some Facebook as well. This one. I'm struggling with this thing on my screen here. Okay. So let's do some Facebook as well. Now on Facebook, there's a page known as PhD in US for 2021. I think every year they keep upgrading it. So it was 2017, then they changed the name to 1819. So every year so I'm sure they are going to change this to 22. You can join this page, but the issue when you join, you need to join. A member needs to confirm you in, but mostly it takes a day or two and somebody is going to confirm you or indicate that you come. When you go on this website, there are lots of information. People post whatever they experience from school application, visa applications, whatever. And when you come to a website like this, there's a challenge here. There's so much information that you don't know what to do. And most of the information here are even related to Asians, because the guy who set up this page is an Asian. He's from India also. But what you can do is you have to go to the files. There's a trend of discussion about go to the files. When you go to the files, you see great resources here. and go through as many. So we have acceptance list 2016. And I want to share the acceptance list 2016 for you to see what is going on here. So this is the acceptance list 2016 from that page. So it tells you the students and their profile. So it says, okay, he's an incoming student to Montana State University. What did he do? These are the things he did. This is his test score. He worked 3 years as whatever engineer. Then the schools he applied to, those he didn't get into, those he had funding from. So this is a very, very good document. By the time you go through this, you might get 3 or 4 schools which fit your profile. You see people who have no work experience. See here, it says job experience, none. So these are things you need to, which are great resources. It tells you the scholarships they had, how they had, some of them even explain how they had it, that they emailed a professor who had a grant or a funding. Then that professor helped them to get the funding. They are working in the professor's lab. So go to the Facebook page, request to join, and once you join, this
request to join, and once you join,
you get these PDFs there to be able to look at them. Also, if you are not looking to do a PhD, you can also go to the MS in US page, also on Facebook. I think I'm getting feedback, so whoever it is should mute themselves. Okay, so this is also a great page. You can also request to join here, and you go there, you look for their files they've posted. Lots of files here, lots and lots, tons and tons of files. So you can get from visa, from schools, from whatever. You just go through and you see the ones that fit your profile. This is a deep search, and I believe if you do a diligent one, you're actually going to get great results. Also, if you want to go into a particular field, start following the professors in those fields, if you're on Twitter as well. So let's do some Twitter also here. So on Twitter, one professor posted that he's looking for economics master's program for some of his undergrad students who are now coming. So other colleagues, professors came in and they posted schools that give funding on economics in an Excel page. So this is the Excel trend. So these are the schools and the link to the website and the countries in which you can find the schools. So I always want to encourage you to do a diligent search. If you think you found that you are in a program, you are not getting funding, I want to encourage you, keep searching. There is funding somewhere for you. There's funding may not come as everyone is getting their funding, but yours may be different. So keep searching. Use the social media as a great platform. So let's do some LinkedIn as well. When you come to LinkedIn, okay, let me just go to when you go to LinkedIn and you see someone's profile, usually if you see them as this, look at the trend they went through, maybe from undergrad, then he entered the US through this program, then he's now on this program. So don't just come in and just go to the program he is in now. Just try to look at where they came from, then look at the program they are in. If you need help, connect with them and do what? Try to reach out, and they are going to give you tips as to how to apply to that particular program. So these are some few things I want you to look out for when you are looking for the schools and how to go about it. But don't downplay this website because it has lots and lots of schools here. You can just give yourself a task, 10 schools a day, deep research. You look at the graduate programs they offer, you look at the department website. And when you go to the website, mostly on the US website, in relation to funding, look out for words like assistantship, look out for words like fellowships. Those ones, look out for words like tuition waiver. Those ones look out for words like assistantship, tuition waiver, fellowships. Those ones means that you are not going to pay any, tuition fees and all that. So this is how to go about a school search. And don't just be like, give me schools to apply. No, search for the schools and come up with, oh, I have these 5 schools. Then send it to whoever you think is looking and say, look at these 5 schools for me. Do you think they are great? Then the person is going to look at them and say, okay, they are great, but I think you need to add this too. Or based on your profile, if you go this route instead, it's going to help you. So that's how to go about it. And I think I would end here for now. Okay, finally, there's also the last 2 things I want you to look up. This guy on YouTube is really good with school applications. You can look at the name here. I think it's Pat, whatever. He's an Indian. He has lots of information on that. You can check his website. He has other things aside school applications, but when you look at his channel, you see his MS in the US. So these are the most important things that can help you from school search, from test scores and all that. So this is also helpful. Finally, there's a website known as Grad Cafe. And this Grad Cafe helps you in after applications, which you want to know if they've released admissions or not. Sometimes, waiting is some way. So you can just search for the school. Good. So let's say Chapel Hill Economics. So let's do this. You see people post trends. They post trend. So the school name, if they've been waitlisted, if they've been rejected, if they've been admitted, and how they got admitted. So they can say, I got an email from the department that said I got in, or I've been waitlisted. So you can even ask questions. Has anybody been admitted somewhere around April or March? If you are not hearing anything, whilst you are sending, you may send an email to the graduate program chair to ask how far. You can just say, wait, we haven't done admissions yet. But you can use this page as a great resource to check trends. Have people gotten in? Which type of people get in? I think this is someone who did undergrad in the US. This is an international student. Those who were the I's are international students, and the A's are, I think, Americans. So this is a good resource. So final takeaway for ICU, this website, and also the various social media platforms. With Facebook, if you are looking for a PhD in US, you can also do MS in the US. I think there's another page known as MS in Canada as well. So these are platforms you can use. You can LinkedIn, you can check people's profile, connect with them, ask them questions. And when you go to the website, to things to look out for, the graduate programs available. If you don't see what you like, see what is related to whatever you want to study, and look at if they have funding and go for it. You might never know. So and the Facebook platform, the YouTube platform I also mentioned, and the grad cafes, that's after admissions. So I believe these resources would be helpful for you. And I think, Lois, you can take over from here.
Brilliant submission there, Daniel. I have just 2 questions for you.
Okay.
So this is from Ohima. She says, please, is there anything like international students ambassadors that help students get scholarship to their schools?
Well, I was actually an ambassador in one of our programs. That's our business school, but not necessarily to get scholarship, but the admission process as a whole. So getting a scholarship is mostly dependent on the admission committee, but the ambassadors usually put the school's name out there and make it and help people, apply and all that. The best ambassador anyone in any school can be is to be a brilliant student, for the graduate committee to always say that, oh, this our student was from Ghana. We picked them and he did well. So I think this person who has also applied can also do well when we pick it. That is the best thing a student can do. Just maybe mention you to a professor there or something, but not necessarily to actually get you funding. No, but just to put a word in for you, that can help your chances, I guess.
Okay, thank you very much. The last question is, please, how does one request for tuition waiver? Can tuition waiver be considered as a partial scholarship?
Yeah, so I think was it Benjamin discussed that? He said the funding, after you've been given tuition waiver, you still have, living expenses and all that to take care of. So in terms of tuition, you may have an in-state waiver or out-of-state waiver. That is a partial waiver or a full waiver. But even with that, you still have to, have what you have to eat, how you can health insurance, how you can fend for yourself. So partial, you may get partial or you may get full waiver. But when you get assistantship, it usually covers the majority of it. I don't know if the question is answered.
I do really hope it's been answered. Okay. Let's do one more question. There are actually a lot. So Rahel says, what classes? Sorry, I think that question has been answered already. Or say, if Ebenezer wants to know if you have to pay for application fees with all the processes you've elaborated, do you have to pay for any application fee of any sort?
Okay, so with application fees, some schools give application fee waiver. And I think last year, during the peak of the COVID times, most schools were giving waiver. But that's not the case moving forward now. But what I can recommend is some schools tie the waiver to attending a webinar. So look at the department website. Some of this website do webinars. Mostly those are in like business schools. They do a lot of webinar. So they just want you to attend a webinar. And when you attend a webinar, you have to put in your name and your email. And once you apply, you tell them that so and so you were at the webinar and they cross-check and they give you a waiver. But some schools, you just have to email them for a waiver. Yeah. Benjamin, if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, thank you. So I think you actually did what I wanted to say. This is it, okay? Sometimes you have to apply to about 8 schools. You may not have the money because you are in Ghana or you are in Africa paying $70. That can be some good amount of money. I think Daniel will concur. So some schools are such that, for example, University of Michigan, if you apply very early, you get waiver. Okay, they have a window for accepting applications without application fees. So you should check on the website and then apply very early. One other thing I may want to tell you is that be frank, okay? Maybe Daniel can share his screen later. When you go to the department page, search for the faculty. You will see that there is this person called the graduate programs director or the graduate coordinator. Send an email to this person. Hello, Dr. Daniel Texan. I'm really interested in applying for the master's in maybe statistics and data science program at your school. I have attached copies of my transcript and my GRE. That is if they require. But unfortunately, I am not in a good position to pay for the application fee. I would kindly like to find out if your department can waive me the application fee. Thank you. Just be polite. They are human beings like us. Some can even, the reason why I said you attach your transcripts and your resume or your test scores is that most people get these emails and then people are not serious. They don't apply. So adding that tells them that you are a good student, except that you are actually you have a financial handicap. So that is one thing I'll recommend. I know somebody, I didn't even know this trick because I've wasted application fee in the sense that I didn't know I could get waivers. But I have this friend, he applied to 10 schools, he paid for just one. How did he do it? By emailing them. Don't use please. Use the word I will kindly like to find out. Be polite, but don't use please. Here, please sounds to them like you are begging and you don't deserve something. So feel free and email them, attach something to prove that you are worth a waiver. And then I believe most people will respond and then give you the waiver. That's what I got to say. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Benjamin. Mr. Daniel, please, do you have any last words or we should move on?
Well, all I would say is it's a very difficult process in the school search, but start early. That is the point. Because I see people somewhere around February, March sending me messages that they are trying to apply for schools and they want to come to school in September or August. And start early. It's a whole year process. I remember I started by process like a year and a half. I told myself that at this time I have to get the school, get the funding and go. So I started early, started telling my professors, my lecturers and all that I'll need recommendation. So start early and talk to people about it. I know sometimes most people want to do things, under G and all that. Get people who are resourceful. Talk to them about it. Tell them that these are my plans. How can you help me? Or what can I do about it? And they'll point you to some few things. Even if they can't help you, they can just say, oh, talk to this person or reach out to this person and we are going to help you. So yeah, just be encouraged. And I know some people have tried already, but just keep trying and you get in. Thank you. Lois, you can take over now. Oops, I think she lost connection.
Yeah, I think she did. So I guess Afaribia will give the talk on the standardized tests.
Yeah. So Afaribia, you can take over.
Yeah.
Sure, I will. Thank you, Daniel. Like, this was really helpful. I learned a lot of new things. Good. So I'm going to share my screen now and talk about the standardized tests. Daniel and Benjamin have mentioned this, but our question is, what really are they? So if this is your first time hearing about it, you would want to know more about what exactly they are and how you can just navigate all this. So what are they? What are these standardized tests? Now, they are assessments just to measure your academic aptitude. So think about it as like BEC, right? When in Ghana, different universities would want to get BEC candidates. However, what they do, like they just can't go into the schools and set and use their termly reports. Those may be trusted, but they would want to put all the JHS candidates on the same level playing field. And that's the idea behind the aptitude, these standardized tests. So they are standardized to make admissions fairer. So I come from Ghana, someone comes from China, and someone comes from the US. And the question is, well, what do they know if I give all of them a test? And I want to standardize it to make it fairer so that regardless of their background, I can measure their like just the academic excellence. So that's the point. And these tests are required by some universities, in addition to your transcript, your personal statements, everything. Like this test is part of what some of them need. Now, please notice I said some. And even for some, now, as Benjamin mentioned, it's being waived off because of the pandemic. So again, if you really do want to apply, you should apply during this season because it's likely that after the pandemic, they'll bring these things on. So when you write these tests, each school and each course has a level or a threshold score that you should get for the course. So before, in your universities, before you get an A, you have to get an 80 or a 70. So you can think about those in that way. And you don't just text the school and say, oh, well, I got this score. How can they trust you? So all these examination bodies, and I have their logos down here, they invite you to give the test, to give a code for your school. So with that code, you will provide that code to the examination bodies, and they will send your scores to the school. So it's really like WAEC will send your SSCs or WASI score, sorry, to the university. You don't send it to the university yourself. So that's the idea behind this. Now, there are 4 major tests. So the GRE, the GMAT, IELTS, and TOEFL. So what are they? The GRE is the graduate record examination, and it analyzes, I've written these skills, but you can think about it as maths and English. That's really what it is testing. So it's testing your verbal ability. How can you communicate in English? You're coming to the UK or you're going to the US to learn in English. So we want to be able to know if you can speak good English and if you can respond and even if you can understand good English. So they also want to test analytical writing, so how you express yourself, and also reasoning, right? So for the reasoning, that's where really this is quantitative reasoning, where you're talking about maths. So that's the same thing tested in GMAT. However, for GMAT, it's really specifically for business school programs. So people who want to do an MBA or something that's like business related will take the GMAT rather than the GRE. And again, you do have to check with your schools what they require. I'll give 2 examples just now so you can see how they work. The IELTS is the International English Language Testing System, and the IELTS and the TOEFL, you'll see that they have English in their name. So they are just about English, no quantitative, just English. So these are the 4 major tests that are exams that are available and for which test scores are usually sought. So now the question is, if I go to a school's website, how can I know if they need this? Please do not take the exams if you don't know whether the school needs it, because you want to be able to check the school's website and be sure, and also be sure about the threshold that they need, so you know what you're aiming at. So I've given 2 examples here from my university's website. So I browsed the course, and one of the requirements in the course, so when you go to the course webpage, when you scroll down, you'll see requirements like what they need you to give for application. And then under the first example here, you see they are talking about the English language requirement. Again, this is a UK university. You should be able to speak, understand, write good English. So they say IELTS. You can see in the left column, there's tests. And they also give the institution code for IELTS. So every school has a unique code. So if I'm going to take the exam, as part of the registration, the examination body, that is IELTS, will ask you to provide a code. So you have to first check the school's website, check if they require IELTS, TOEFL, or whatever for the program you're going to write. If they do, you take their code, so that when you're registering, you provide that code to the examination body. You can see here that Oxford has given a minimum overall score. So when you write the IELTS, they expect that you get 7.0. I haven't indicated the maximum scores for each of the tests. I thought that the more necessary information was having you really look at what the schools require and how to even know what the schools require. I have put links to the various tests. You can read about it. You can read about what the perfect score is. The perfect score for IELTS, I think, is a 9 or 8. I'm really not sure. And then it gives you the minimum score per component. So you can see the for TOEFL, you can see the components, the listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And it has given the minimum score that you need to get on each. So they don't only look at the overall score, they break it down and they give you a minimum score for each category. Now, the second example, number 2, also gives a course in the same university, but this course says no GRE or GMAT scores are sought. This course also didn't require IELTS. I don't think so. So you can see that some courses may and some courses may not require it. So you want to first check. So now I know that there might be some questions on your mind, like how much does it cost? So if I write it this year, do I have to write it in the following year? How do I prepare and all of that? So I just put some thoughts together for this common FAQs. So the first is the cost. Now, they range between 180 and 205. And I know that this is a significant financial commitment. That is why it's important to start planning ahead. And part of the planning might involve saving ahead if perhaps you do not have the financial stability to make that payment like in one go. You want to save towards it. And if you pay the fee, the examination body would allow you to send tests for free to a number of schools. Now, I don't want to say 3 because that's for GRE, but I'm talking about all the exams now. You want to check the number of schools that you're allowed to send your scores to for free. But also, if you're applying to more schools than are allowed, you have to pay an extra fee. So again, it's important to plan ahead. How many schools am I applying to? Okay, if they are giving me 3 for free, how do I pay for the extra 5? Let me save towards it, or let me look at how opportunities for gaining this. For the cutoff score, before that, some scholarships will pay for your GRE test. So you want to also perhaps make that inquiry. My scholarship does that. So whatever thing is required for you to gain admission, your application fee, if you need to write a GRE, the Rhodes Scholarship will cater for that. So again, check with the scholarship that you are applying to. And if they do cater for that, then definitely go for it. So the cutoff score I've just mentioned, it differs by the test. We've just mentioned 4 tests. So you want to look at which test am I considering, and then what does my school require and what does my course require? You really want to know this before you sit the exam so that you know what you're working towards. Somebody who is working towards a 5/9 or a 5/8 for IELTS will not be learning in the same way that somebody who is working for an 8 is learning. So please note what your school requires. Can you reuse course? Yes. You don't need to write this every year. For the GRE, for instance, they allow validity over a 5-year period. So if you wrote the GRE in 2021, you can use it to apply and apply and apply again up to 2023. Sorry, up to 5 years after. Do the math. So you do not need to set it every year because, of course, it's a very big financial commitment. So if you don't gain admission in this year, you can apply again and send the same scores. However, if you didn't do well, when I say do well, I mean if you didn't get the score that the school requires, then you may need to sit again because that means that your application might not be competitive. So in that case, if you're sitting again, then you have to pay again. How do you prepare? You can use specialty schools. I know the Best Grade Services offers such. So you can use specialty schools. I attended when I was sitting my GRE exams in the university, when I was a national service personnel, there was another school, I think in the Okonglo area, that offered that too. So I used a specialty school. I also use online resources. Coursera has, I heard Benjamin say that Coursera has a course for that, so you want to check that out. But just use or check online if there are resources available. I remember there were some people had done YouTube videos explaining their experience on GRE and IELTS. So definitely go to YouTube and check if you can get like people talking about it, because that will be really helpful. And so my top tip for these exams, I wrote 2 of them, the GRE and the IELTS, is practice, 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 and practice again. I remember that I was doing that. I know most of you are either in school or you have a job. It will require commitment. All of these things do. You are here because you really do want it and you're investing your time. These things will require commitment, but I'll just say that please go for it. And when you put in the work, you will see the results. So please practice, because you don't want to pay and not get the score and have to pay again. You all are capable. You can't do it if you practice enough. So please use more questions and they'll be really helpful. So to conclude, I've put together like a list of resources, all the funding opportunities I spoke about, the external UK funding opportunities, as well as the standardized tests, and have the links here. I will forward that to the organizers and they will share that with you. So I'll just finish off here. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ms. Afaribia. I have 2 questions for you. So someone says, I notice schools in the UK give UCAS codes. Could you please explain what UCAS code is about?
Okay, yes, thank you. So those are UCAS codes. Those apply only to undergraduate study. And so just as we in Ghana would write WASI and then just send it, well, the WAEC will send our results to the universities and then the universities will pick from there. In the UK is different. The schools will give you a UCAS course, and then if you want to apply, you use that. I don't think, I was talking, and I think most of my colleagues were talking in the context of postgraduate education. And that's why I didn't mention that, because those UCAS codes are for undergrads. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last question is, please, is the GRE online or offline?
I'm not really sure what you mean by online. Do you mean the exam? Is this
the exam? I think the person was referring to the exam.
As far as I know, no. And that is why it was scrapped. Benjamin mentioned that it was scrapped because of COVID. So if you want to sit the exam, you would have to go to a test center physically. I think the test center for Ghana is around the children's park. So yeah, around the Ifasadalan Children's Park. And then you have to go there physically and sit the exam. Although you will be given a computer and you'll be taking everything like on the computer, because these are computer-based tests. The GRE is a computer-based test. IELTS is a paper test. So yes, it is online, but you would have to be there in person. I'm sure it's just to protect the integrity of the process.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to add something to that. So actually, some schools, some countries, for some countries, ETS allows them to take it from home. So they have this proctoring or invigilation app. You scan your room and then before you take the test. So please confirm from the ETS website. I think that provision is still there, but then it wasn't super efficient for some schools. So that's why they waived the GRE requirements. Also, for the previous question, when you are taking the GRE, you don't really need to have the school codes with you. Okay, I think after taking the test, you are allowed to send to 4 schools for free, like Emmanuel said. But once you start typing the school name, automatically it will drop out from the IntelliSense. Okay, so you don't need to commit the memory. Sometimes when you go to the department's page, they will tell you that send the GRE to school code 8005. It doesn't really matter. Let's start typing the schools. Once you ship your GRE score to the school, the admissions office automatically attaches it to your file. So it's not like it will get lost. No. Once you apply, they have a way of synchronizing things up. So don't worry about the codes at all. Just focus on acing the GRE if you think you really need to take it. Somebody also asked that if a school does not require the GRE, should you still take it? This can come in 2 ways. If the school does not require the GRE and you don't do well, don't send it. Okay, whatever you send is what they base on to evaluate. However, most schools talk about this in terms of admissions, but if you want funding, sometimes if you do very well on the GRE, it can still put you on a higher rank. So if they don't require and then you don't get good grades, don't send it at all. Don't try that. Otherwise, it will do more harm than good. If they require, you can submit it. And then permit me just 1 minute to show you this resource briefly concerning the GRE. Where is my? Okay, so let me share from here. This is the TOEFL page. Actually, yeah, so Danny talked about MS in US. Okay, just type MS in US. Okay, I think this is their homepage. I can't see it from here, but then this is what I did. Okay, you can come to, for example, this is the GRE page. You can look at universities based on revised GRE scores. So when you check on this, this is not foolproof. Okay, so they recommend that if you get a GRE score of the maximum is 340 and the minimum is, I think, 270. If you get a GRE score of 333 and above, you can apply to these kind of schools. Once again, I'm not saying that if you get 310, don't apply to a top school like MIT, Harvard, University of Michigan, or University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So they kind of, based on their experience and their data, they kind of section or categorize the schools to apply to based on the GRE scores. So it goes all the way down to, I think, 200s. Okay, so maybe if you get a GRE score of maybe below 290, these are some schools that they think over the years people have been applying to. Northern Illinois, University of Detroit, California State, Fresno, and then a couple of other stuff. So there is so much resource here. You can look out for GMAT materials, GRE materials. And then one other thing I wanted to point out is statement of purpose. So when you come here also, you can look at some SOPs. So best SOPs, some are free. So SOP for MS and PhD. So when you click on this link, there are so many things you can find here. These are sample SOPs for somebody applying for master's thesis in computer science, that is CS. This site is developed by Indians. So usually they like programming and computer science and those STEM programs. So if you are in those fields, you can look at some sample SOPs. Let's look at somebody going for biotechnology. You click on the link and this is their essay. Okay, so this is their essay. You can look at how they put their essays. So much resource from here, from applying, checking out university rankings, to visa application, OPT, CPT, green card, and several other things. Okay, this is not my session to present, so I'm going to end here. If you have any questions, you can stay to the end of all the other sessions, and we'll be glad to answer you. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Afaribia. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Thank you, Mr. Daniel. We are nearing the end of this conference, but before we do, I would invite Mr. Enoch Sechi to tell us about some existing opportunities in Ghana for those of us who have decided to school here in Ghana or for some reason were unable to get funding and so have decided to focus on studying here in Ghana. Mr. Enoch, if you can hear us, kindly tell us about opportunities that exist here in Ghana and how we can make good use of it.
Please, can I share my screen?
You can, but
can I see?
Yeah, we can see it.
Hello.
We can see,
can I see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Enoch. I'm currently a PhD candidate at the Department of Statistics and Natural Science, and I'm currently a Banga African scholar. So basically, this is a bit of an improv. I don't want us to run through because time is fast spent. I started my academic life by receiving a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics and stats. So these are my theses. At a later day, we can discuss that one. But I want to start from opportunities in Ghana. If we've got opportunities in Ghana, I'm just starting into 4 main categories. I'll talk about 4 main things. First, I'll talk about application in Ghana, qualification process, funding opportunity. Then I'll talk about basic application. So let me begin by talking about application. Mostly in University of Ghana, our application numbers start from January, and that cuts across most of the tertiary institutes. In respect of COVID, most of them start from January, and the application fee ranges from 200 cedi to 300 cedi, and the application is Maiden online. Now, for the master's program, we have the LLB for law, MA. MA is for humanity. Those of you who did humanities, for instance, maybe did adult education. It's a 1 year period. So those of you who want to do MA to go and work, it's mainly for workers. Both the MA and the MS is mainly for workers. The MPhil are people who want to enter into research. That requires thesis. They are the PhD. So whenever you are buying an application for any master's student, for any master's or PhD in Ghana, look at this the things. Either you are interested in MA, MSc, MPhil, or PhD. They are all not the same. The MA and the MSc are purposely 1 year program, and the MPhil is basically a 2 year program. If the MPhil requires a thesis, it requires 1 year of what? Research. But the MSc and the MA, it just requires a bit of dissertation and you are done. Now, what are the qualifications? If you are a first class, second class upper, second class lower, you are qualified to pursue any masters in Ghana. Then when you have a third class, in some instance, they require you will be required what? Working experience. So if you have a third class, you can still proceed in some cases. Where some Ghanaian private university can you can be awarded a master's degree. Now, how does our application system? There are two main. For the master's program or the PhD, start with an oral interviews. The oral interview vary from department to department. So maybe now we'll do Zoom. Some lecturers or faculty members will just sit down and then ask you some questions with regard to your field. So when you are able to give them the appropriate answer, then you are being recommended for MSc or MPhil or PhD program. In some cases, you are required to what? Write a written exams. So it's like an entrance exams. They set a question, you come and write. When you pass, you get admission. So pursuing masters in Ghana is you are either going to face one of these, either oral interview or written exams. But in the case of law, you have to do both. If you are interested in pursuing law in Ghana, you need to what? You pass, then you can now pursue a law degree. The same thing applies to what? Medical school. But in this case, vary from department to department. So just take note of the department in which you are applying to. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is funding in Ghana. Funding in Ghana is basically you have the guest fund, the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat, the GMPC Scholarship, Talo Oye, Erasmus, and then the Banga Africa. Now, the guest fund is for both local and then international students. So,
Hello, Mr. Enoch. Please exercise patience. It seems his network is messing up. We will sort it out very soon.
Hi, Lois.
Hello, Lois.
Hello, Afaribia.
Yes, just while we wait for Enoch to join, I just thought there was a question in the chat which perhaps Benjamin or Danny could take for the US, but for the UK, the person is asking what's the difference between how different is MPhil from Master of Research, and another person says how different is MSc from MPhil. So in the UK, an MSc is a 1 year taught master's program. So if it's for 1 year and you're just doing teaching, you're just doing learning, no research, then it's an MSc. But it is an MPhil if you are having a substantial component of research to it. I'm speaking for the UK. So that's the difference between MSc and MPhil. MSc is mostly taught, and then MPhil is not. MPhil is taught plus research.
Right, let me pick up from the US. Maybe Danny will add something to it. So in the US, I think that they usually don't use the abbreviation MSc. I think it's a UK thing that Ghana has pretty much adopted. So they call it MS as Master of Science, BS as Bachelor of Science.
Not to cut you short, Benjamin, but we have Enoch joining us again. And so we'll take it from there. Thank you. Mr. Enoch, please, are you ready? Okay.
So now, the next is the GNPC scholarship. It's for both local and then foreign. You have the Talo Oya scholarship, both for local and foreign. You have the Erasmus Mundus scholarship. That's a shared scholarship. That means that if you're on the Erasmus Mundus scholarship, that means I can go for a split program. That means that you do 1 year in Ghana and 1 year in any European country. That will cover. Now I have the Banga scholar. That is mainly for University of Ghana students. So the main aim for the Banga is just to equip Ghanaian students to be able to become faculty members. Now, let's be honest in this regard. Getting the GET-FUND, Ghana Scholarship Secretariat, and then the GNPC scholarship is highly political, to be honest. It's highly political. So my advice is that if possible, you can follow what our dear brothers and sisters have already said. Just look for outside. Because for you to get this scholarship, it's not easy. However, for this scholarship, they will normally pay for tuition. There's no stipends. They normally pay for tuition. That means they will pay your school fees, and that is all. You have to pay accommodation. You have to pay the rest. The same thing applies to the GNPC. The same thing. At least none of talk about visa application. Now, visa application is one of the most, let me say, reject or fail to reject. In some situations, you may get a scholarship to pursue whatever degree outside, but due to interview can be rejected. So when you are applying to, for instance, for the US schools, you may be asked to pay after getting admission. The process is that you have to send your I-20, pay for services of $350, then book for US interview. Booking for interview is not automatic. You can book, you can have everything, but I don't know, they will be rejected. The same thing in the case of the Canadian, Asia, and the UK. Normally, you have to submit documents. So, in the case that you want to apply to any school abroad, please make sure that everything is genuine. Make sure that when you are applying for a visa, everything must be original. Do not contact anybody or any third party in the event of applying, because they will investigate and find out. Also, please, whenever you are applying to any of these foreign schools, I always tell people that at least your last resort should be a local one, in case my recommendation is that if you have a first class or a second class upper, I would sincerely recommend that you work things out to get any foreign schools and go. because you know how the system works. The system here is not that, it's very rigid. So I would recommend that if those of you who are applying for second class upper and first class, I highly recommend you that you should try and get the GRE rate, the IELTS or the TOEFL. It's not easy, but it's worth it. For instance, for you to complete a program in Ghana here, I mean, for a master's program, you are paying somewhere around 6,000, 7,000 Ghana cedis. For a PhD, you are paying around 16,000 cedis. Look at it. You are paying 16,000 for a PhD program. Whilst you can get a US where you pay nothing scholarship. So I recommend that whatever our dear brothers and sisters have said, those of you who intend to apply, please take it seriously and just apply, because that one saves. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Mr.
Hi,
Enoch.
hi.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Enoch, for that submission. I would allow for just 2 questions. Any general question you couldn't ask before to any of our guest speakers. Just 2 questions. You can type it in the chat, or you could raise your hand and I would allow you to speak. Just 2 questions.
Lois, let me go ahead and clarify what I was talking about, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was saying that in the US, we don't usually have like a dichotomy like MPhil and MSc. So what happens is that they call it this way: master's degree or master's with thesis, or thesis-based master's degree. So the thesis-based master's degree is what the UK or the Ghana system will term it as MPhil, Master of Philosophy. And with that, you just do a thesis. If you don't want to do a thesis-based master's program, sometimes you just have to write an exit exam or do a mini project, and then you get your degree. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin. Since we do not have any questions left, okay, there's one more. And this one is directed to Mr. Daniel Texan. What is the difference between studying in US and UK? Is one better than the other? Mr. Daniel, if you could please take this question for us.
Well, it depends on what you want to do. Don't think of the thing as I just want to travel abroad, so I want to see where is better and I want to go. No. Afarabia's in the UK. UK is great. She's doing well. I'm in the US here. It's great for me and I'm also doing well. So it all depends on the program you want to do. If the supervisor you're going to have, the scholarship opportunity available, you just go where there's good funding, you don't have to pay a lot of money. So I can't say one outweighs the other, but it depends on what you want to do. Maybe after school, you might even not end up working in wherever you study, because most of my colleagues here, after they are done, some move to Europe, some also move to Canada as well. So it all depends on what you want to do after you've gotten your master's or your PhD. But generally, I would say look at options. If you want Europe, look at Europe and have have US and Canada also. Explore other places. Don't limit yourself to only one region. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel. Let's take a few more questions. So this is to Mr. Benjamin. Someone wants to know, how good are the chances for business courses in the UK and Canada?
Okay, so let me comment on Canada. What I know about Canada is that they are so first and foremost, I may be biased here because all of my forms of funding have come in the form of teaching assistantship. I don't know how the external funding works, and I believe that's why Afaribia talked so much about it, like securing external funding from these Gates Foundation, Talo, and all these. So what I know is that for business programs, Danny also said this, most fundings are tied to STEM programs. And what is the rationale behind? Those programs usually have research related to it. So they look at things in two ways, research assistantship and teaching assistantship. For example, anybody applying to a math department is highly likely to get assistantship because math classes are taught across everywhere. In my department, we have a stats class that is taught across everywhere, and we have over 10,000 students taking the statistics class. So they would definitely need teaching assistants like the math department. So as well as other programs like chemistry, even forestry, and those programs that are research based. So it's easier getting scholarship for those programs than the business school, unless you are doing a PhD, which is kind of like automatic if you get admission. This is because the business programs, they perceive it as something that is professional. They are training you to go back into industry and then make money for yourself. So it is not like it's impossible, but they don't usually have assistantships, but they have scholarships that can reduce your tuition burden. So because of that, coming back to your answer, unless you do exceptionally well on your GMAT, I recommend that you apply to Canadian schools. Why so? Canadian schools usually have very low tuition, like University of Saskatchewan, several schools. I mean, I can't mention them all. Brock University, Brandeis, Concordia University. Those schools have very low tuition. I think University of Saskatchewan charges around $7,000 for the whole year, and that is like around 350 to 35,000 fees or so. Some schools also, some are very, very cheap, like Simon Fraser University, their tuition is very cheap. So if you are from a business background and then you can't get an impressive application, I recommend that you apply to Canadian schools. I don't know much about the UK system. Maybe if Afaribia is here or some of our colleagues here in the Europe can comment on that. That would be okay. But what I said is based on my personal experience. I'm not saying it is a holistic thing. All right. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Benjamin. So, Mr. Azaglo Emmanuel, if you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, please, I wanted to ask, you see, some of the schools in UK and USA, that's what I've heard. Some of them doesn't accept, how do you call it, the GNRE, yeah. So I want to know if it is true. A friend told me that some of the school doesn't required, like there is no requirements like that.
I think we've covered this topic extensively. The guest speakers asked us to make our research on the various schools and the specific programs you want to offer. So you would have to do your research and know whether this school requires GRE, GMAT, or any other standardized test or not. I hope that answers your question. You would have to do your own.
I joined late, that's why. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. But at the end of the day, the recording will still be available on all social media platforms, so you can still get access to it. Thank you. We would move on to...
Please, one last thing. Can we please have a WhatsApp platform for further information?
Yeah, the administrators would consider the suggestion and get back to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you too. So 2 more questions and then we wrap up for today. Anthony Mensah, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Hello, Anthony, can you hear us? Okay, it seems we lost him. So I would read, okay, Joseph, one more question from Joseph, and then we are done. Mr. Joseph, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
Is all the duration for an MSc program in the UK or the US? And how long should an applicant expect to receive an offer letter after application?
Okay, Ms. Afaribia, can you please take this question for us?
Yes, I can. So I actually answered that in the chat, but I'll just say out again in case he hasn't seen it. So I did say that in terms of, I didn't hear the first question, but for the second question, how long it would require, you will find that information for the UK, you will find that information on the course website. So when they give the deadline for application, they usually also give, at least for my university and a number of universities I've looked at, they usually also give the deadline for offers. That is when you expect them to get back to you. And for some of them, they will tell you haven't, I mean, for most of them, they'll tell you haven't been able to get in. So if you don't hear from them by that date, you should get in touch. If you check on the website and that is not there, as Benjamin suggested, please email the director, the course director, or any contact that you see on that web page and ask them. They'll be kind to get back to you with a response. Your first question, please. Your first question again, please, Joseph.
The duration for an MSc program?
It's 1 year typically
UK
in the UK, 2 years typically in the US. An MPhil in the UK is 2 years. In Cambridge, it is 1 year, although it's an MPhil. I would leave the US matters to Benjamin and Danny, if you have anything to add.
All right. Yeah, I'll be glad. I don't know. I think I missed out the second question, which is how long it takes to get the offers. I think I also responded. I responded to that in the chat. So let me consider the fall admission window, because that is pretty much the standard. So for the fall window, those top schools, okay, they have very short application window. Like my school, for example, I think the deadline is 15th December. I think same should be with University of California, North Carolina, Chapel Hill, Stanford, Harvard, and those schools. They open very late and then they close very early because they get so many applicants. So for those schools, usually right after the deadlines, they start releasing offers, because those top schools are going to compete for excellent students like Stanford, Harvard, MIT, Yale. They are going to compete for the brilliant students. So they close their applications early and then they start giving out the letters very early. But let me explain the general trend. This is it. Most schools on average give the first offers, like there are generally there are three rounds of offers. Most schools give the first offers before April 15th. That's the first one. And that's the standard one, I think, by some laws. So they give the offers by April 15th. And after April 15th, they give the second round of offers. On the assumption that people that they gave the offers before the April 15th may have declined. And so they'll go to the wait list and then release as per the ranking. And then, so they give the second round of offers after April 15th. So if you don't hear from your school by April 15th, the presumption is that you're on a wait list. So when you go to some of these websites that we shared with you, the Grad Cafe, you see people begging others that if you have received multiple offers and then you don't plan to go to one school than the other, please, what do we call it? Decline early enough so that some of us can also benefit. Now, after April 15th, they give the second round of offers, which usually spans through to middle of May, where they give the second round, usually based on extra funding availability or people declining offers. And then if you are lucky, after mid-May, you may get an offer, but it is, I won't say there's nothing impossible in this world, but typically after May 15 to May ending or early June, you don't expect to get an offer. Reason being that if they give you the offer, it will still be difficult for you to join the program in August. So that is how the window typically works. Like there are three, what do we call it? There are three rounds, pretty much. Okay. For your question about the MS, sorry. Okay, for your question about the MS programs, it depends on the program, it depends on the school. I did master's degree, which is not thesis based. Yeah, I did it for 2 years. That's the requirement of the program. somebody did a thesis-based master's degree for 1 year, and most schools in Canada also, they are usually, by 1 year, you are done with your coursework and even the thesis-based program. So for this, I'll recommend that you check with the department. They have the length of study there. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin. So guys, I know you have lots of questions, but I'm hoping that there would be a way at the end of this conference for you to ask further questions. And I can guarantee that you would get answers to those questions. But for now, we have to wrap up things. Honestly, I have learned so much from today, and it is my candid hope that you have also learned so much regarding studying abroad. And so at this juncture, I would invite Mr. Jonathan McMills for the last time to give us his closing. Hello, Mr. McMills.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it has been an insightful day for all of us. From here, I believe next year by this time, most of us will be applying to the top universities out there, and we will be having admissions and then scholarships as well. So, however, I observe and I believe that we all did that. From the speeches of our speakers, you will realize that one of the most important elements necessary for a successful application is undergraduate performance. So when it comes to this, I believe Best Grade Services, we are available to help in any course that you are offering. Okay, so if you have any course that you need assistance, you need someone to guide you, we will be there to help you when it comes to your research work and all that. We also help in the consultation when it comes to the school application, when it comes to you searching and all these process. We are going to make the resources that have been shared today on our social media platform. So please get connected on our YouTube channel. This particular meeting was streamed live on Facebook and then YouTube. So they are all there as at now. So visit our pages, and then we will be going to upload all the necessary materials that you need for your study abroad and your test and all those information. So thank you very much for joining today, and we hope for other interesting conferences such as this. So thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. McMills, for those kind words. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely proud to announce to you that the Study Abroad Conference 2021 has successfully come to an end. First of all, I'm grateful, or we are grateful to God Almighty for gracing this occasion with His presence. Secondly, we are grateful and eternally thankful to all our guest speakers who found time out of their busy schedules to come and explain certain basic and even advanced stuff to us. Again, I'm grateful to Best Grade Services for giving us this opportunity. Jonathan McMills, you and your team, thank you so much for putting this piece together. Thank you once again to you, our cherished viewers, for sacrificing 2 hours, 30 minutes of your time to be here today. We really hope it has been an educative and exciting journey. My name is Lois Blanson, and I was your host for today. Have a very good evening.